We have a special guest. Now, this guest that we have on, you guys should be really putting on your seatbelts. If you want to know anything about why these people are marching on Wall Street right now, this guest is going to give you just cause of why you should be aware of what's happening on Wall Street and why you should be aware of what's happening as far as insider trading, this, that, and the other. I'm very glad to have him as a friend, and I'm very, very happy to really know he really has opened my eyes to a lot of things, and he causes you to really ask a lot of questions to things that you might not have worried or thought about before. I'm going to dial him live now on the air.
Hello?
Hello, Richard. This is Aaron Meyers.
How you doing, Aaron? Great to hear from you.
Man, it's great to hear from you, too. I want everyone to know Richard has even been working this morning. I got your email this morning about the insider trader who was just convicted. I mean, you are really on top of what's going on. But I think it would be nice if I asked you so the audience would know how you and I became acquainted.
Okay, turn back the clock to 2009. After the financial meltdown of 2008 that destroyed the financial system, I got involved in a movie. I'm a narrator to the movie Stock Shock. It came out June 10th, 2009, and we thought finally the truth was going to be told about Wall Street counterfeiting stocks, and what took place was the news media just simply ignored the story. And somewhere along the line through social media network, and me and you connected, and I started telling you my story, I thought would be all over the news, but it never made it. So that's how we developed a friendship, and I've been fighting a battle ever since. What I've uncovered and other people fighting to get the truth out is simply amazing. I hope I'll be able to share some of my investigative research with the people today in the radio show. I love Occupy Wall Street. Finally, the American people are going to be told the truth thanks to social media networking, and God bless Steve Jobs, the founding father, made this happen.
Yes. You know, I would like to tell the listeners, before The Exchange was a radio show, The Exchange was a blog, and a pretty influential blog. And it was Richard's story that got the blog on Yahoo Business News, also on the stock market news as well. And it stayed an article on Yahoo Business News for a record 4 months almost. The information I saw with Stock Shock movie, also Oliver Stone even referenced Stock Shock movie for the movie he did, the Part 2 of Wall Street movie that he did with Mike Douglas. So tell me a little bit about this news media revolution that's taking place right now.
Well, I'll tell you, Aaron, just like you with your blog, after we talked, I ended up making my own blog, SeriousNews.com. But the news media revolution began, in my opinion, in 2008 when Sirius and XM merged. That's two satellite companies, a major to bring the news to the world through your cars, your phones, or whatever. But more importantly, Steve Jobs and Apple created the iPhone 3G, not the 2G, but the 3G, which created social media networking and eventually video cameras on the iPhones, and of course, after that, social media really took off. Facebook, then Twitter. I think Facebook has 750 million followers. I don't know how many Twitter has, but that's growing rapidly too, where you can put the links to the stories. But basically, the news media revolution began July 2008, where now, 3 years later, a little over 3 years later, we, the American people, the 99% Occupy Wall Street now, have become the news media of the future for the world, where we could use Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We can be down on the Brooklyn Bridge and film that information and send it to YouTube right away. We are forcing the mainstream media that neglected this Stock Shark movie. It's called Stock Shark, The Short Selling of the American Dream, which you saw, right, which clearly explained the counterfeiting of stocks by Goldman Sachs and many of these brokerage houses. And the news media ignored the story because what Dylan Radigan is saying is get the money out. The corporate greed, they control the news media and also the politicians, and they're protecting them instead of the people. And thank God the American people, thanks to the news media revolution of these technology and social media networks, that are going to finally tell the truth to the American people, but more importantly to the world, what has taken place with these greedy people on Wall Street. I have information to share with you about movies coming out October 21st and at the end of the month. And when the American people in the world see these videos that has the evidence on Goldman Sachs, all hell is going to break loose. It's going to be Occupy everything, never mind Occupy Wall Street.
Now, explain, and some of the listeners, and if they've not been following Wall Street or anything of that nature, tell them what the whole short selling. Give quickly just a quick background, because I believe it would be very helpful to our listeners, and we do have time to talk about it, so we're good on time. Real quickly, kind of just tell us about this Sirius XM and the shareholders and how this really sparked your involvement.
Well, basically, we had the meltdown. They changed the rule. The movie was about the uptick rule that they changed in 2007, these lobbyists and these banks, and which created a frenzy of corruption on Wall Street with counterfeiting. Where the problem lies in the stock market is what they call the DTCC, the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation. Everything went to electronic, so these banks, they had these million-dollar banks and computer math whizzes to manipulate the stock prices, and basically the system failed the American people because you would buy stock through this electronic, and they would sell you the stock but never deliver it to you. They would send you an IOU as if you owned the stock, but you really didn't because they never owned the shares. These banks were selling counterfeit shares. They never owned them, but I don't want to it's really complicated. The best advice as far as that goes would be to go to, say, my website, SeriousNews.com, to understand some of the videos I made to explain it. And more importantly, Aaron, this powerful movie that the average person can understand is called Wall Street Conspiracy. It comes out October 21st, and I'm telling you, Aaron, it's an hour and 40 minutes, and it clearly explains the evidence against Goldman Sachs and how these brokerage houses and hedge funds ran rampant to steal the wealth off the American people in the world. And it's coming out October 21st, and it shows how they bankrupt thousands of companies, which in turn, when you bankrupt companies, then there's no jobs. The biggest growth in jobs in the United States is small business owners. These bankers were selling counterfeit shares, bankrupting the companies, which in turn eliminates the jobs. And that's why there's no jobs in the United States, or the unemployment rate is still at 9.1%, because these banks are playing around with counterfeit stocks and money.
Richard, I'm looking now at Bank of America, and these banks are getting ready to raise fees.
Well, I can explain that, Aaron. They want to start raising various fees because the Dodd-Frank bill, which here's the biggest problem. I'm going to tell you a couple of key problems. Dylan Radigan has it right. First off, we have to get the money out of politics. The Supreme Court last year ruled 5-4 to allow unlimited funds to be given to these politicians for these elections. Well, this is what it's about, the 1%. The corporations are paying millions and billions of dollars. How can we as average citizens compete against this with these ads, and then they get what they want? So that's the number one problem that we have to stop. And then, of course, all these criminals on Wall Street, not one of them have gone to jail.
Not one of them.
But they arrested 700 or 800 protesters last week. But I'm going to tell you right now, this movement, 20,000 last night, is going to grow to 40 to 100 to 500 to millions of people. When our voices start being heard about the information I have and many, many other people have, and they start to see these movies, it's going to turn into millions of people, and it's going to be occupation, everything. You name it, it's going to come to your city. But it's real, this movement, and that is why the news media at first tried to put us off as lunatics, but thank God that someone videotaped that cop spraying the girls.
Right.
And like I said, it goes back to the news media revolution. The people have had enough is enough, and they have the tools now to have their own lives. What I vision down the road, Aaron, is this. You have a Occupy New York, Occupy Tampa, Occupy LA, Occupy San Francisco, Occupy DC. It's going to be everywhere. It's going to come to a point that you're going to go to a website. You're going to be able to click on New York, California, Florida, DC, wherever these marches are or demonstration or protests, and we'll be able to watch live stream video of it. We do not need the news media anymore. The news media is responsible for not telling the truth to the American people back in 2008 when this whole financial meltdown happened. And the reason is, I'm going to tell you, the number one reason is they were counterfeiting stocks on the stock market, not to mention the housing market and derivatives and bundling up their mortgage loans. That's a huge story too, but the story I'm involved in with the counterfeiting of stocks is bigger than any story ever told. It was in my first movie you saw. The media was silenced on it. I want to read something to you right now. Okay. that the President of the United States, and I don't want to get into politics because I love the man, you know,
right.
Politics, but I want to make to your readers, and I have it on a movie called Wall Street Fails to Deliver. I'm going to read you. It may take me a little while, but I'm going to read you a paragraph, an emergency executive order by the President of the United States on July 25th, 2011 about Wall Street. Yet it hasn't been on TV yet, and I'm trying to bring this to light. Hopefully a radio show will bring it to light.
Right.
So here it goes. An emergency executive order by President Obama signed into law July 25th. I, Barack Obama, President of the United States of America, find that the activities of significant transnational criminal organizations such as those listed in the annex to this order, and the annex to this order is basically, he lists 4 entities, and they're all mafia-related as far as attacking the American financial system. So let me read on from there. To the annex to this order. So here we go. Have reached such scope and gravity that they have threatened the stability of the international political and economic systems. Such organizations are becoming increasingly sophisticated and dangerous to the United States. They are increasingly entrenched in the operation of foreign governments and the international financial system, thereby weakening democratic institutions, degrading the rule of law, and undermining economic markets. These organizations facilitate and aggravate violent civil conflicts and increasingly facilitate the activities of other dangerous persons. I therefore determined that significant transnational criminal organizations constitute an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and the economy of the United States, and hereby declare a national emergency to deal with that threat. He's basically saying that these Russian mafia and all these other criminal organizations have infiltrated, they have attacked the financial system, and it's called the hedge funds and the brokerage houses. Follow what I'm saying? Right. The hole in the system on Wall Street is at the DTCC. It's called the Stock Borrow Program, which allows these criminal organizations to sell counterfeit shares, take the money, and never deliver the shares to the people. it is so bad that they had to sign this emergency executive order, yet not one TV station has reported it. Now, I made a...
Not one.
Yeah.
Well, we're hearing it first on the Exchange. We're hearing it right now on the Exchange radio show.
Well, I hope they spread the word, but I'm going to tell you, I got a video out called Wall Street Fails to Deliver on YouTube. It's 28 minutes long, and I explained the emergency executive order and everything else, and I'm praying to God that through this uprising of the Occupy Wall Street, that someone takes this and shows the American people in the world what's really going on. I don't want to get into the complications, but I'll just say one thing, and it's in the video. The Russian spies that were all over TV last year and got arrested, they were working for the hedge funds. And next thing you know, the government ships them over to Russia and make a swap, and you never heard another word of it.
No. You had a personal, didn't you have a personal kind of, you were able to see this partly head on, am I correct?
What was that question again? I'm sorry.
You were partly able to see this directly, am I correct?
Well, yeah, I connected the dots. There's a website called Deep Capture that explains who these people were. Now, I made a movie, just a Mickey Mouse YouTube videos with that social media network on the end of May of 2010. And I mentioned a Russian, now here's where I say they're stealing the money. A Goldman Sachs employee named Sergei Lenikov worked there for 2 years. He stole the Goldman secrets and sent them to a German website. And he got arrested by the FBI. Again, nothing told about it, but that's what my video was about. A Newsweek writer put it in the Newsweek magazine, July 7, 2010. And then, 3 weeks later, the Russian spies all started getting arrested. But the media never reported what the real truth was. All they said was the girl, Anna Chapman, was a red-headed bombshell that should be on Playboy magazine. And what did she do wrong? She was sipping coffee at Starbucks on her laptop. Well, the real truth is they were working with the hedge funds and brokerage houses to counterfeit the stocks and go. And, this is part of why President Obama signed this emergency executive order. So, Google, July 25th, 2011. It's a deep story, and but I can tell you this. On December 5th, 2011, a man named Patrick Byrne, one of the founding fathers fighting this counterfeiting by Wall Street, is going to trial in San Francisco. And thank God now we have Occupy Wall Street, because it's going to grow and grow and grow. And by the time that trial comes to trial in San Francisco, the world hopefully will begin to see the real truth. First off,
I was going to say real quick, because we're getting ready to get a little bit low on time. Where do you see, what about today, tomorrow, the future in regards to protests, new movies, and your vision on this revolution?
Well, I think, I'll tell you right now, I'm real happy because finally help is here, which has forced the news media to put this on TV. And as this information comes out to the people, the 99%, all hell will break loose. And I see this growing from 20,000 to millions. They're going to be occupying every major city, and they're going to force change in politics. And I don't like to get into the politics, but basically, they don't want to do nothing for this president. And they just, all they care about is the next election instead of helping American people. And it's pretty sad to say, but the news media, all they do is go on TV and spin this and spin that, when they should have been reporting about the Wall Street counterfeiting and everything we've been trying to say. And if they still refuse to tell the American people the truth about Wall Street and the counterfeiting, then these protests, when they get this information, it's going to grow, Aaron. Stay on top of the story, because it's not just the United States. They're going to be in Canada and Spain and Germany, because these same Wall Street criminals have screwed over them countries, too, with the combining of mortgages and reselling them to Greece. And now there's no money because they hold it all and stole it all. And I want to bring one major point out.
Well,
and that is...
We only have just a few seconds left, and I have a couple of spots to make. Real quickly, Rich, I want to have you back. I want to have you back on the show sometime next week. Tell me, how can they reach you real quickly? How can they reach you?
All they got to do is go to the website, www.SiriusNews.com, and that's Sirius like the satellite radio, SiriusNews.com. I have numerous information and factual information out there, and also on Twitter, I have over 50,000 followers at Stock Shark Movie. And like I said, I'm going to be in a new movie called Radio Wars. But let me bring out this one key point about the pension funds. The guy that turned in Bernie Madoff, Harry Markopoulos, Google him. August 22nd, he came out. He's going to expose the pension fraud. It's amazing how they stole the pension plans out of every state. You have to see it, Aaron. I'll explain it on the next show.
Okay, we'll play on the next one. We got 10 seconds. All right, then. Thank you so much, Richard. Find me on Aaron2.me. Also, if you could just